Hi everyone, this is Heidi from My Reading Life, and I'm here today to film a recent and current reads video. And I wanted to take advantage of this beautiful late fall day here in Maine, and you can see behind me my backyard, and that the leaves are mostly off already. Sad times. We had a big nor'easter blow through the past week and it blew off most of the leaves, so all my beautiful fall color is gone, and now we're left with the stragglers, but still have to take advantage of the sunshine while you can get it. All right, let's just hop to it. Since the last time I checked in, I have finished Underland by MacFarlane. This was the nonfiction book all about life underground, basically the spaces and places that exist underground, and what those mean to us here above ground. I really love this book. I talked about it quite a bit in my last sort of catch-up video, and it's beautiful science writing. I think if you are a person that loves nature writing, you would love this book. I loved how it sort of wove in adventure aspects where MacFarlane goes with extreme cavers and into mines and in through ice, exploring glaciers and into glaciers and into caves in like northern Norway where there's prehistoric artwork. I mean, it just touches on so many different topics, and I thought it was just absolutely beautiful. So that was a great one. I also finished finally Best American Short Stories, edited by Roxane. This is the 2018 edition. I had been reading this with Sean at Sean the Book Maniac, and he and I had been reading one story a week since last summer, I think it was, or maybe September. I can't remember when we started. No, it must have been in August. And it was just fabulous to read these short stories that way. These are all, Gay really curated this collection to be sort of, to touch on social and political issues through fiction, and I think she did a wonderful job. Overall, I mean, there were a few clunkers in this collection, as there often is with short stories, but overall this was a really excellent group of short stories. I'm not a huge short story fan, so but most of these really worked for me, so I would definitely recommend that as well. I finished an audiobook. I finished On Fire, The Case for a Green New Deal by Naomi Klein. This was a collection of nonfiction that Klein had written over the past decade, all about climate change and why it's so important to start facing up to what we need to do as a worldwide community to face the climate crisis that we're currently under. Some of the early, it sort of went chronologically, the pieces, and there was everything from articles that she had written for newspapers online to speeches she gave at college graduations to lectures she gave to, big bodies, scientific groups and things like that. And the earlier pieces, while it wasn't so much that the science was, lacking, it was that the perception of culture about climate change has changed dramatically in the last decade. So she did include some footnotes to how social perception of climate change has altered really dramatically in the last decade, especially in the United States. There is information about current happenings with climate change and the current things that governments are doing or people are doing. There's some stuff in there about Greta Thunberg, the young lady from is it Sweden, I believe, who is an activist worldwide for climate change. Really tremendous leadership from a teenager. It's just amazing. And I wanted to particularly note that the end of the collection, there is an essay, or I guess it was a speech that Naomi Klein gave about climate change and the hurricane that devastated Puerto Rico a year or so ago. I think it was Hurricane Maria. And I want to particularly point out that essay to you guys because it was so awesome, and it really delves into how Puerto Rico has been treated as a colony over centuries, and how those how that country has been treated by the United States that led to where they are today, with trying to recover from hurricane damage to that to their country. And it was just unbelievable, and really a great summary, I think, of all of the issues that surround Puerto Rican politics. And I particularly would love to have you read that and give me your feedback on it, because I thought it was a really great summary of the issues facing Puerto Rico today, and how the Puerto Rican people have been put in this position by things that have been done to them by outsiders. So I'll try to see if I can find that essay individually and link it in my description down below, because I think it was really, really great. And then just this morning, I finished my first Victober read, and that was North and South by Elizabeth Gaskell. I had read Wives and Daughters last year for Victober, and so this year I particularly wanted to pick up another Gaskell. And I, at first, was unsure about North and South. I had a really hard time getting into it. I had a really hard time. I didn't like any of the characters. I thought they were all jerks, and not, behaving in particularly empathetic ways towards each other, and I really struggled with it. And then I got to a certain point, and all I'm going to say is there's a strike involved, and a workers' strike, and there's a climactic scene between our two main characters, and from that point on, the book took off for me, and I just absolutely loved it. And I really loved how this book took social and economic class differences between sort of the mill owners and gentlemen, or the upper class people, and then the working class people, the poor people, and really showed how each of those different groups of people misunderstand one another, and then by the end of the book have a better understanding of each other. At least some of the characters do. And it really showed how individuals can learn and grow and change over time, if they are only willing to be open to the other side's perspective. And I really loved that message. I thought that was an amazing book, really appropriate for our times, in a strange way. And I'm definitely going to keep reading more Gaskell after having loved the only two of hers that I've read. So I'm currently reading on audio, listening to A Better Man, which is number 15 in the Inspector Gamache series by Louise Penny. This is a sort of what I would call a literary police procedural series. I think it's just excellent on audiobook. I really love. I know I just heard Robert talk about this series because he's on like book 3 or 4 of it, and he really didn't enjoy his experience of listening to this book on audio. It's getting quite warm right here in the sun. But I just love the audiobooks. I really love the narrator and the accents that he brings out, and I find that it gives me a deeper enjoyment of that book. So that one's going really well. I'm about 25% of the way into that. I'm continuing my buddy read of Macbeth by Shakespeare with Emily, and I can't for the life of me off the top of my head remember Emily's channel name, so I'm going to link that for you down below, and I would encourage you to go check out her channel. We're having a delightful time discussing Macbeth. Very appropriate book for October with all the witches and the spooky atmosphere. I had never read Macbeth before, so we're listening to this on audio while also reading the text, and I highly recommend that as a way to consume Shakespeare. And then I am still, haven't got any further, but this is still on my currently reading. This is The Outsider by Stephen King. I haven't read any more in this since the last time I checked in, so that's all I'm going to say about that. And then, I don't want to lose my notes, but I am deep into Ducks Newburyport by Lucy Ellman. I'm not a Booker Prize person, but I was kind of disappointed that Ducks Newburyport did not win this year, but oh well, so much for that. I am like 500 pages into this 1,000-page stream of consciousness narrative, where we follow an Ohio housewife as she goes about her life as dealing with her 4 kids and her husband and her baking business and her past and her ruminations on all of this as she goes through her days. And I just love it. I love her voice. I love the way that she thinks connects with me in such a strong way. I have thought the things that she has thought, not all of them, but enough so that I feel a strong connection with our narrator. I think this book has a lot to say about contemporary America and what it's like to be a woman, particularly a stay-at-home mom trying to do, what's the word Naomi Klein uses? She says we're in a dig and gig economy, and I think that this book, Ducks Newburyport, really gets into that gig type of economy, because our narrator is trying to, you know, have a baking business out of her home while she maintains her family, basically. And how do you balance those things? And she's thinking all the time about, you know, bigger issues, and bigger issues with the environment, bigger issues with healthcare, bigger issues with her family, and how, you know, raising teenagers and marriages and all of that sort of thing. And I just highly enjoy it. It's such a great read. It's super easy. I thought it was going to be difficult. It's not. Very much loving that. And I should say I am buddy reading this with Doris and Will, and that is also going awesome, as you can imagine. And then what I want to pick up this week, because I found this at the library, is Celestial Bodies by Jokha Alharthi. And this book has been, I think it was a book that was read maybe in Mel's Read Around the World book club, and then some other folks that I watch on BookTube read this and really liked it, and I've been wanting to get a copy of it for ages and just have not been able to find it anywhere in any bookstores I've been in, and wasn't really, it's expensive. I'm just gonna put it out there. It's more expensive than I wanted to spend on a thin paperback. So couldn't believe I was taking a book back to the library, and here it was on the new bookshelf, and I was like, definitely gonna grab that. And this is a work of translation. So this is translated from the Arabic by Marilyn Booth, and so I'm excited to pick that up this week. So that's what I have read last week, and what I am currently reading, and what I hope to pick up in the coming week. I hope you're all doing well and finding some wonderful books to read, and I'll talk to you later.